Hi, my name is Angela. In this video, I'm going to be talking about those who may not have matched and what the scramble is like. I'm a current PGY1 resident in ambulatory care track training, and it's a known fact that not everyone matches in phase one. It's not a 100% match rate, and that's okay. Good candidates still will go into phase two. So I just want to talk a little bit about what that's like. Obviously, I don't have firsthand experience, but I know others who have, and I can guide in general resources because it's a reality of the residency search process is potentially not matching the first time and going through phase two. So it's called a match because programs will rank candidates, candidates will rank programs, and if it doesn't align or a program has spots open and or a candidate doesn't match, then you go into phase two. So phase one is the one that most people will go through. Phase two is this next kind of crunch time, and that's what they call it the scramble, is because everyone's just scrambling to find spots, fill their spots, and it's in a really short time frame because phase one has been started ever since November or October, whenever they started recruitment, and this is going to happen within a matter of weeks. So I'll go through that a little bit. Just to look at statistics, I saw the residency acceptance rate, the most up-to-date one I could find was 66% in 2017. And that's overall residency acceptance, so after this phase two. So just know that in pharmacy, it's not as guaranteed as medical, physician residencies. Not everyone's going to pursue residency training because not everyone's going to get a job that requires that qualification or can use it. So just know, again, that misalignment's going to be there at least for the time being. And I put a link below so you can see the number of PGY1, PGY2 programs that are currently out there, just to see like the growing number of programs and the trend and all the different areas. I don't have personal experience, but it just goes to show how diverse this field is and how you may find a different program that you weren't interested in or maybe didn't think about if you go through the scramble. A lot of people would recommend, ASHP being one of them, would recommend that once you are going through phase one and you submit your rank list, you start preemptively planning for phase two. So, that way you're already ahead of the game. It's kind of being a step forward and preparing yourself for the possibility that you might not match. It's less stressful if you do that, I would assume, but it also can take a lot of work. And I also respect people who need that breather time after they've submitted their rank list until match day. I honestly think it could go either way. But what it's like for those I've known who've gone through it, it's stressful, but it's not hopeless. You may find good opportunities and you may not. And when you get that letter that says you didn't match, it's really, really hard. And you probably need to take the day just to process that. I know a lot of people I would start getting to work right away. Without any foreknowledge, I'd be like, okay, well, I need every second to make myself a better candidate, try again. But you probably need time just to process if you weren't already prepared for the fact that you didn't match. And I would try to pull from, your strengths, understand how far you have come. You're on your way to getting a doctorate, or you've completed this, that, or the other thing. You have strengths. This time it just didn't work. It doesn't mean that it won't in the future. It doesn't mean that you are not good enough. And after you've recovered and kind of processed that information, then you would start looking at forecasts. So I've talked about it in previous videos, but where they have the residency programs that are listed for you to match with. It's first come, first serve, so time is kind of of the essence when it comes to applications. But I'm going to go ahead and lay out this schedule for this year because phase two has closed. So I'm going to lay out the schedule for what the timeline was so you can see how it works out. So March 16th was when people got results, and the list on forecast that was up for available programs was available on 12 p.m. of that day. Then the 17th is when forecast opened for candidates to go on. The 21st is when candidates had to submit the applications, and you can, before then you could just see them but not actually apply. Then in the midst of that, between the 21st and 28th, or that 17th time period, that's when you start the interview process, and you schedule and you talk with your programs, do mini interviews, whatever. But on the 28th of March is when your rank list opens, and April 6th is when the rank list deadline is. And then the 13th is when you get results. So with all that, and I'm sure I messed with the timeline at some point, but just to give you an idea, with all that in a month, you have applied, interviewed, ranked, gone through it all. It's very stressful, especially after you've just gone through it for phase one. So kudos to everyone who puts themselves out there again, because it's a hard work, I'm sure. So what are some tips of advice, even though I haven't gone through it? I am going from a handout that ASHP has, which I'll link below, just big points. Make a plan. You know, maybe you don't even need to do phase 2. Maybe there's other opportunities in your life starting in the workforce, or, you know, maybe there's other avenues in pharmacy that you want to get additional training in. I'm not sure what that means for you, but consider that with your friends, family, loved ones, should you even do phase 2. And then how are you going to approach this differently? Hopefully you will have mentors who can guide you in how you can improve your application, whether that's your CV, whether that's your letter of intent, your forecast application profile, your letter writers. Maybe you need to have a new, better list of people to recommend to you. It's going to be probably better to think about a different approach, whatever that means for you, because something happened where it was misaligned. And just think about the discrepancies in between the programs you applied to and why you didn't get them and your application. You're going to make sure you update your CV, because after you've applied, you've already had some rotations. You maybe have done some more research work or other things. So update your CV. Things will have changed. And then my advice is to make a really strong letter of intent, because that's what I've heard and what I notice is like the first impression of you. Talk about how passionate you are, how you're pursuing phase 2 despite not matching in phase 1, and how dedicated you are to XYZ program. And then for phase 2 interviews, you're going to probably email thank yous, because those of you who might send cards, it's a quick turnaround time and it's best to just get those out as soon as possible. Plan for some difficult questions. I like how they recommended that in the handout, because they're going to probably ask you about the fact that you're in phase 2 and you want to seem confident and collected when it comes to those responses, because it's a fair question and you shouldn't be ashamed you're going back to try again. I think that if anything, you should prepare a response that shows that you're proud and confident, as best as you can be. There's lots of other tips. I'm not going to go into them, but I would just say from my experience being someone who helped others when they were going through phase 2, give mentors and help like me specific deadlines, because I didn't understand how fast the deadline turnaround was, and I think some of my work was given back a little late, which I don't want to do if I know that it should be earlier. I also am posting 2 articles from TLDR Pharmacy. I don't think I've mentioned them, but it's really a good website that has a lot of helpful handouts and discussion articles. So those are more real world experiences, because I have not gone through it, but others who have will put that on there. So I hope this was helpful. Like the video if you liked it, and share it with anyone who you think might experience phase 2 or go through it, and put any comments if you have suggestions for resources or other tips and advice. I just want this to be helpful, and I thought I should definitely cover it at some point. So I'll see you guys next time.